We will like to welcome you on briefings in global affairs, international relations, and geopolitics. This hour in focus, we are exploring how US sanctions against Russia is accelerating de-dollarization. Let's delve into this in more detail. The dollar serves as the primary medium of exchange for settling international transactions, the most important unit of account for international trade, and the store of value for central banks. Recently, however, de-dollarization has been a focus for nations who have goals that are in direct opposition to those of the United States. These nations include Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. Russia, which is the target of economic sanctions imposed by the United States for annexing Crimea, intervening in its election, and now invading Ukraine, views diversification away from the dollar and into gold and other currencies as a means of avoiding the limits imposed on commerce. Analysts described China's decision to reduce its holdings of US Treasuries for 4 consecutive months in 2021 as a strategy to avert the potential harmful impact of a growing trade dispute between China and the United States. The year 2014 marked the beginning of China's decisive departure from the dollar. The promotion of the Chinese yuan as a reserve currency resulted in China and Brazil reaching an agreement on a currency swap worth $29 billion. Trade between the two nations is expected to increase as a result of an agreement on yuan-ruble swaps that was inked by the central banks of both China and Russia. The agreement for $150 billion represents a step in the right direction for Russia as it moves away from dollar-dominated settlements. A new crude oil futures contract that was initially priced in yuan but is now convertible into gold was introduced by China a few years ago. By trading oil in yuan rather than dollars, the Shanghai-based contract gives oil producers like Russia and Iran the ability to circumvent sanctions imposed by the United States against them. The SWIFT system, which is used for international banking transactions, provides another evidence that China and Russia are moving away from the currency. Following Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, there were calls for Russia to be excluded from the SWIFT system. As a means of retaliation, the Kremlin built its very own financial communications network called SPFS. 38 people from 9 different nations took part in the SPFS in December of 2021. As of the month of March, there were 399 people using the system. Russia and China are now in the process of negotiating China's membership in SPFS. To further the process of internationalization of the yuan, China has also built an alternative to SWIFT and, in 2015, launched it under the name Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CPS. As a direct consequence of Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, the West, consisting of the United States and its allies, is currently attempting to economically isolate Russia. But the strategy ended up being unsuccessful. Not only have the sanctions been ineffective in stopping Russian aggression, but the high oil prices that have resulted from the war have helped to raise the ruble to the point that it is now the currency that is performing the best in comparison to the dollar. The sanctions imposed by the West may have caused a decrease in the amount of energy that Russia exports, but the value of those exports has increased. India is among the countries that are filling the void left by a decline in the number of countries purchasing oil and gas from Russia. More significantly, the sanctions are bringing Russia closer to China, which is the United States' primary economic, political, and military rival. A rising amount of evidence demonstrates that such measures have frequently proven to be counterproductive to the economic and geopolitical objectives of the United States of America, and the effectiveness of sanctions imposed by the United States has been deteriorating in tandem with the relative decrease of American strength. At a time when economic power is shifting eastward, the United States has almost expelled Russia from the financial order that is governed by the West. Excluding the nation with the 11th largest economy in the world from an order that the United States aspires to defend could make it more difficult to find a workable alternative system that is not dominated by the West. What is more certain is that the new hybrid war being led by the United States against Russia, which will be centered on unprecedented sanctions, will help deepen the undeclared Beijing-Moscow axis against Washington, and will make China the big winner financially and geopolitically, thereby aiding China's expansion of both its economic and military power. There is no doubt that Vice President Biden's display of economic strength will simply serve to embolden Russia and other U.S. competitors, most notably China, to deprive the United States of the same force that makes sanctions so devastating, the strength of the U.S. dollar. Both Russia and China have taken steps to de-dollarize their economies and establish new platforms for banking transactions that circumvent U.S. sanctions. These steps were taken in an effort to circumvent SWIFT. The strategies of diversifying their foreign exchange reserves, encouraging more transactions to be conducted in their own currencies, and restructuring the global currency system through the IMF are both strategies that the two countries intend to implement. According to an article published in Foreign Affairs, deteriorating U.S.-Chinese relations incentivize Beijing to join forces with Moscow in building a credible global financial system that excludes the United States. That's where we wrap things up for the time being. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.